all new episode, an all new episode of Tiff Talks. Welcome everybody. We'll get started in just a minute. I'm gonna share my video feed in just a minute. Today is gonna be just an awesome welcome back. I'm happy to be back. Happy to have you guys that are joining me. We have a really good talk time ahead of us to kick off this season 3. So yes, I'm happy to be back, and we're gonna get started, like I said, in just a minute or so. All right, so there we are. There you guys are. Welcome back to this platform. We're gonna go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, this is the first episode of season 3. I would like to first start off by just acknowledging the warm welcome back that we have received. You'll see that we have like an all new virtual background for today's show. So we're definitely like going all out to kick off this, the premiere of season 3 of Tiff Talks. We have been on hiatus for a little bit since our minority mental health awareness symposium mid-July. And it was definitely a time to just be able to relax and be able to just kind of rejuvenate and get a refresh, be refreshed. But I miss, spending times with you guys and being here in this setting on this platform. So I am so happy that you guys have welcomed us back and the warm welcome back that we have received. So in the words of Pops from Friday, thank you very kindly. And then for those of you that are new to this platform, my name is Tiffany. I am owner and operator of Tiff Talks. And this platform was created as my service to the social services, industry, an industry that I have worked in for quite a bit, and really just have grown as a person, as a professional to this moment in time in my life, where this platform, a bi-weekly podcast, was created as a safe haven to be able to tackle the taboo topics that are impacting our community. So we really address that empowerment and the feel good, but also those topics that are uncomfortable for us in the community, like minority mental health, breaking generational curse, these things that we are talking about amongst our peer group at the barbershop, at the beauty shop. We bring a light to uncomfortability, and that is by empowering our community with insight, with awareness, and with education. So for those of you that are new to this platform, thank you for joining us. Please stick around. You will not regret it. And for those that are returning with us, our Tiff Talks community, thank you guys so much. Your likes, your shares, your views, your comments, they do not go unwarranted, unappreciated. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the Tiff Talks team for those things. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our very special talk guest for today. We're going to kick off this season 3, our annual back to school special with our guest today, just sharing in some insight and discussing those very anxious feelings that we as parents of students that are going to be returning back to in-person learning. So I'm going to ask her to go ahead and share her camera, her video screen, along with unmuting herself to be able to share her introductions. If you would please share your name, the city that you're from, and a little background about today's talk topic.
Hello, LaKenya Spriggs. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I am an educator. I've been an educator for the past 12 years. I've been a reading interventionist or fourth and fifth grade teacher in the public school system, as well as the charter school system. I am currently a literacy teacher specialist in a elementary school within the Houston area. Um, the topic today hits home because our kids come in the building. Not this week, but next week. So I know it's going to help address some of the issues that we may run into as educators and have to give answers to parents to help the students cope with the different things in life that they've experienced over the past year and a half.
Awesome. And that is an introduction that leads right into the significance of our topic for today. For the last year and a half, just about almost 2 years, our students have been engaging in this quote unquote structured computer instruction and kind of learning environment. And in that, even though we're at a state where COVID numbers are still at an all-time high and increasing, the world is still opening up. And as we transition to this place of trying to rediscover, redefine what normalcy looks like, there is a lot of anxiety just surrounding where we are at this state. And as my niece would say, as you should, as we all should, feel this sense of anxiety is something that we have to tackle, something we have to talk about, because it's an elephant in the room that really needs to be addressed. And the purpose of this talk time today is to acknowledge the elephant in the room, but to bring awareness and insight to those feelings, and also to really kind of provide some instruction on how we can access resources, because that's what we need in this day and time, resources. And knowing how to access those things is what's going to get us to a period of, like you said, being able to cope and be on the other side of this situation. Mm-hmm. Now, as I mentioned, with the COVID numbers being so high, it is no surprise that the cases in regards to anxiety and depression amongst our children are also in an all-time high. And a report that was taken from ER visits between April and October of 2020 indicated that the numbers from kids just as young as ages 5 to 11, the number of cases has gone up by 24%. As well as the numbers with those that are older from 12 to 17, the numbers being 31% of children that are seeking out services for mental health and resources for mental health. Now, these numbers, although they are alarming today, I can anticipate that they'll go even higher as we continue on this course of trying to redefine normalcy, but also as we get back into a routine of the classroom, having to go back to a place that you haven't been in almost 2 years, having to meet new faces and new people. I want to first kind of start off the discussion of today with you sharing your insight as an educator on how we can acknowledge and address the concerns in the open dialogue with our children, just as we return back to in-person learning.
Well, as an educator, we have to make sure our students are okay at all times. Over the past year and a half, some of them have been isolated from their peers, family members, or may have experienced some sort of trauma and not being able to have that someone that in their safe space, which may be school, to talk to. So we have to focus on social emotional learning. The Committee for Children says the process of social emotional learning is the process of developing the self-awareness, self-control, and interpersonal skills. Children need outlets, just like adults. So we need to check in on them every morning. Something as small as having a morning activity in the class called check your weather.
Mm.
They get to express how they're feeling that day, how things went last night, how they expect their day to go moving forward. And
Right.
then we have to also allow them have people on campus
Mm.
that are trained and skilled
That's
to
good.
help them deal with these issues, such as school counselors. In my school district, we have wraparound specialists also, and to not only provide resources to the students, but also to the parents, because we know that if the parents are not okay, the students won't be okay. So we need to focus on the whole child, which
Mm.
includes social emotional learning and academics, in order to ensure that everyone is okay.
I love that. I love that. That is so very true with being able to do, like you said, those small little check-ins, something that's very candid, but to engage kids in how we can have these discussions in the classroom as they should also be having at home. And for me, I know one thing when it comes back to going into in-person learning and having been in a period of being isolated for a period of time and not be connected to that safe haven, the words may not always be present. But
Mhm.
if your words are not present, then of course your actions and your behaviors will too speak volumes.
Mhm.
And for me, and I can very kind of candidly say this, in my household, we have really, like, I would say, grown to acknowledge this science of moods and behaviors in our household, between having a toddler to a preteen to a teenager. We can kind of gauge when, hey, they need some acknowledgement. They need to be able to be heard and understood. They need some time to themselves, or, oh, that isolation and that me time is not becoming isolation. Like, we've gotten it down to a science of what we can anticipate and how we can draw them in. And for me in the household, what I have learned is being able to really extend my children grace. Like that same grace that I need when my behaviors and my moods are getting the best of me, I need to be able to extend that to them as well, and make it a place in the home where it's comfortable for us to have these discussions. So for instance, just week before last, I was doing some stuff for the show and kind of getting back into a routine with what I needed to do. And they all on their devices. I was like, we need some time. We need some family time. We need some time just to kind of sit and enjoy each other's company. So I was like, hey, let's just all crawl into bed, take a few hours to be without electronics and not look at a screen, and take some time to just laugh and talk about candid stuff about how we're feeling. And something that I do with them when we sit down for dinner is I ask them, what was the best part of your day? Those are
Mhm.
simple things that just acknowledging their feelings, acknowledging how, what went on in their day has really made a difference in the mood in our household and the safe haven in our household to say that it's okay to have these discussions.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's good. I completely agree with that. Um, I like that you brought up that this transition is not just about the students. It's about the educators, it's about the parents as well, because we too are in the process of transitioning to readapting to this thing. Um, we were, like you said, at a point where we all were without this integral piece of our daily lives. Having gone to school ourselves, we know what role the school system plays, and having to be without that. I mean, we were all at a standstill for a period of time, adapted to this online education and learning, now having to readapt to what is going to be returning back to in-person learning is going to look completely different than what it was before. So
Mhm.
I have some concerns, I guess you can say. And my concern is really, like, where do we fall into place with the lacking and the gaps in the school system? Um, Having to reestablish a routine for me, I know it's going to be a little bit complex. So I've kind of started early, but those lacks in the school system, for me, those are a big concern. So, what social support can we provide our children with to kind of fill in the gaps where that lacking may be in the school system?
One of the important things is having conversations with the scholars when they come home from school, asking them about their day, the type of activities they did, how did they score on those activities, and pay closely attention to how they respond
Mm,
verbally in their body language. And
mm,
if you notice that your scholar may need assistance academically,
mm,
utilize the free tutoring at the school.
mm.
A lot of school districts have digital resources. They're free. They can be downloaded on iPads, tablets, cell phones. Allow them to go through those different programs, and as well as the parents can sit there with the scholars as they go through the programs to ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's in their fun. I don't know if you've ever logged onto one. It's so colorful, it's very animated, and the scholars love it.
Mhm.
And I would say sit down with them with their homework,
Mm.
help them, pick their brains, because as you know, it's a different way of teaching. The way that they were taught math, we were not taught math that way.
Definitely.
So, and the complex of the reading has increased. So just sitting down with them, showing them that, okay, we're in this together, because this is a big transition for the scholars back
Right,
into the building.
right. That's I definitely agree with that. When it comes down to the changes in the curriculum itself along is definitely different from what we've experienced. But I will appreciate my son. He's always kind of really had good solid quality teachers, where it's been things where he kind of gone over his head or something that he quickly grasped and he became very bored with. They'll go through the process to offer these online activities that he gets comfortable with, that he wants to do them, like it's an achievement for him that he wants to go back and do over and over again. And there's one that I can't remember the name of it, but it's truly like a math game where he earns these different avatars and he's able to build these different worlds.
Imagine math.
So yes,
Imagine
those
math.
things like that. He even during the summertime, he was working on these things because there were things that brought him joy. He was able to continue to do and practice at the math that he loves, because he loves math, but also be able to earn these different keeps that made him feel good about himself. So I definitely will say the school system as a whole, as it's changed, it's definitely gotten innovative in the learning techniques and engaging kids. And I truly appreciate that as a parent, but also as someone that, I mean, and I hate to say this, but we are in a household of overachievers. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing sometimes, because I never want to be that parent that weighs too heavy on my child. And with this last school year, I really think we all just kind of got to a point where we were like, man, we just happy to have it on the other side of everything. But my daughter, she had gotten to the point where she did completely online learning. And in doing completely online learning, I feel that she lost some of those keeps or those social skills or some of those things that she would get being in person. And she was really hard on herself at the end of the year because she didn't get the grades or she didn't get the GPA that she anticipated or that she was used to. Versus my husband and I was like, Jaden, look what has come along with this year. You may not have gotten the GPA that you wanted, but you made awesome grades and you've maintained awesome grades in this pandemic, in this situation. So we were like, you need to be proud of yourself just for being able to overcome this difficult time, because this is something that you're not going to ever forget, and being able to overcome and maintain, that's achievement. But she was really hard on herself, and that concerns me with children going back to school that have been strictly 100% online learning, going back into the classroom. I never want her to feel that it's okay to underachieve, but I don't want to minimize the barriers that she has overcome. So my question for you when it comes to things like that is, I anticipate that there will be, challenges for our students in their academic performance. But how can we find that middle ground when it comes to the barriers of having to return back with this education system, but also the middle ground with being, having underachieved?
I honestly don't have the perfect answer for that because educational barriers do not look the same in every school or school district. And I say that because education barriers can be untrained teachers, lack of learning materials, lack of technology, poverty, overcrowded classrooms. So that doesn't always look the same everywhere. However, one thing I recommend is that parents get involved in the schools, become members of the PTA, become members of the PTO committee, whichever one they may have at their school. When you see people running for the school board, research them, go to the board meetings, voice your opinions. If you have a concern, get on the agenda to speak at the board meetings. We want you to become a part of the school community because when parents speak up, and when they speak loudly, they're heard. Things change. We want people to help pour adequate resources into the schools to help increase student achievements. Parents are a vital part of the educational system. A lot of parents are business owners or they have friends that are business owners. Encourage some of them to adopt schools, adopt schools, help bring adequate resources into the schools so that we can increase student achievement, despite whatever barrier that school may face.
I like that. I like that. I think and we'll get into that because that's one of my questions also, and how we can partner as parents. But that's important, like you said, to be able to pour your resources into the school, to be able to address these barriers, because that's true, they all don't look the same. What may be a barrier in one school district or in one school may not be the same around the corner in another. I guess it really kind of depends on the population, and also like those that are being serviced or in that population or in that school system. That's good. That's good. So for those of you that are just not tuning in, I am Tiffany. I am owner and operator of this platform, Tiff Talks, and we're here with LaKenya Spriggs, our educator, who is sharing with us this talk time to address the concerns that we have as parents, as educators, with returning back to in-person learning, and really just like addressing the elephant in the room. And in just a little bit, we're going to get into some resources on how we can partner and give more of ourselves to the school. So I want to check to see if there are any comments. I know a couple of people have joined, and I am horrible at like reading comics, so bear with me. So thank you for tuning in, Kathleen, Jessica, and Shannon. Shannon says sound like Madison. Yes, ma'am. Madison proud. So thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to like, share, and continue to comment in the comment section below. As we transition to kind of like the community ties and the connections of the school, one thing that I would say that I'm so very proud of, that I've seen across multiple school districts, is the response to mental health with our students and in our community. When the for my daughter, she goes to a charter school which is predominantly Latino. There's a very small population of black people, black and brown people like me and you. But when the George Floyd incident happened, it was an immediate response that I truly, truly, truly appreciated, because the administrators as a whole came together to recognize the lack in themselves and really address this unbiasedness in the school system as a whole. They created subgroups and different interventions to include, people that look like us, and not just the students, but the parents as well. And initially I was like, watch this just be something that go by the wayside. But it didn't. It's been a long-standing thing. And for me, I appreciate that. And when I got ready to kind of do some research on what's going on in other school districts, I saw that each and every school district, from HISD to Fort Bend to Katy to here and there, everywhere, has some form of addressing students' mental health. And I appreciate that. So I found out that HISD has I want to say it's the talk line. HISD has the Stay Connected line, and then Fort Bend has the Talk line, and they have on hand trained healthcare professionals that are able to address and tackle mental health concerns. This for me is appreciative because it's not just extended to students, but also to parents as well as educators and staff. I think with that being said, I feel more comfortable, especially in the pandemic time, knowing that we have these resources available. And I'm interested, if you don't mind, sharing what your thoughts are in regards to the school system's response to including mental health as a part of students' concerns.
I think that a lot of the school districts have done a great job in pouring a lot of money into hiring skilled and trained health professions, bringing in resources to help students deal with, the mental health issues they may have. Over the years, I expect them to bring in even more people and pour in even more money, because as we see, mental illness among our students are rising. So we want to make sure we take care of the whole child. And in order to take care of the whole child, we have to make sure they have the right headspace to perform to their fullest potential. So I do give a shout out to the school districts. I know the district I particularly work in, we have wraparound specialists, we have counselors, social workers. So, and then those people, they have different programs they've implemented on different campuses to help with things like that. So, it's just going to continue to grow and grow. It's just like as something comes up, they do their best to, form committees and see what resources they need to bring into the school system, so that they can stay ahead of the issue.
Right. You mentioned the whole child, and that's an initiative that I when I was doing my research, I saw specifically with Fort Bend, and I love the way they present it on their website. So their website is very user friendly, and it easily has a department for behavior health. And I think the way that HISD identified it, which was a little bit more challenging to locate, was social behavior learning. And for me, being able to have a web page to go to, they have all these different resources with videos addressing the whole child. I mean, I love that. They said very clearly on their website on Fort Bend what their social workers do, how they address these concerns, how to connect with them, telephone numbers and emails of how to gain access to people, to be able to have someone on top of these hotlines that they have that are traditionally running. I think as a whole, as a community, especially in minority communities more recently, is no way that we can turn a blind eye to our mental health. And not only because it's been on CNN, not only because it's literally on all social media platforms, pop-ups, not even that because it's in the Olympics. Before now, I think we as a culture had really just kind of gotten to a point where we kind of minimized our mental health, because there were so many other things going on in the household, in the home, that we had to pay more attention to. But with mental health being a platform of its own and skyrocketing in its norm, I think we can no longer just minimize these type of things. It's no longer just saying, hey girl, I'm tired. Hey girl, I'm going through it. It's okay, the resources are out there. You have access. That means you need to tap into it and gain access. And I'm happy to see that because social media has given mental health this platform, that is now becoming a more sense of normacy, that it's okay to go out and get a therapist. It's okay to say that I'm not okay. And it's not as frowned upon as it used to be, you know? So when it comes specifically to the school system, I'm interested to kind of gauge what your thoughts are as a educator on normalizing and prioritizing mental health in our education system.
As an educator, it has to be normal. We have to normalize it and prioritize it, because we know that if our students are struggling in the mental capacity, it's going to have a direct effect on their academics.
Yeah.
And I can't stress enough, taking care of the whole child.
Right.
We want our scholars to perform to their fullest potential, so we have to make sure they are okay. They're okay at all times. And if they do if there are mental health concerns, making sure that we bring in the right people into the schools, meet with the parents, and create plans to help address those issues so the scholars can move forward academically the way that they should be.
Yeah, that's good. I like that you said being able to have that response to where there is an issue. And sometimes it may not always be an issue with the child themselves. It may be the home environment.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a parent, it may be a grandparent, whomever is raising them, whomever they have ties to, who need those resources. So it's so much more important to be able to, like you said, address the whole child. That means not just the school setting, but the home setting, and make sure that those resources are available and accessible to the family as a whole, because that system definitely plays into and intertwines with the school system. I love that. I love that. Now, as our children's first educator, um, we as parents that are caring for these children, we have to take responsibility. We have
Mm-hmm.
to step up to put forth a conscious effort and being able to develop a collaboration, a collaborative relationship with our educators, with our school systems, so that, like you said, we can address the whole child. And knowing that, I remember like when I was in school, we would oftentimes kind of look at how the Lamar High School and the Bel Air School High School and the Rice schools were thriving. It was because those parents were parents partners,
Mm-hmm.
that they had a collaborative effort, a buy-in to the schools, where they gave just as much time and energy and effort, because they knew that their kids were reaping, and they were reaping from that energy and effort that they were sowing. So my question for you is, how can we as parents develop this collaborative effort with the school systems and with our educators?
As parents, I'm a strong believer that you should check in every six, at a minimum of 3 times within a 6 weeks period. There are a lot of programs now to where you can access students' grades, attendance via phone,
Mm-hmm.
via computer, whichever electronic device you may be using. Join the PTA, join the PTO,
Mm-hmm.
attend school meetings, attend community meetings, attend the board meetings. We want to create a school family community partnership at all times. I know a lot of school districts, they send out messages about community meetings. Don't ignore them, attend them.
Hmm.
You want your voice to be heard. You want to always know what's going on in the community and what, as a parent, you can do to help the school or the school district accomplish the goals that they have for the scholars. But again, like I say, we need a school family community partnership, and that's the only way it's going to work. That's the only way schools are going to thrive. Is with everyone taking a vital part of learning.
Hmm. I like that. I like that you said at minimum. Um, I'm a parent that I don't care what the grades are, high or low. I meet with my kids, teachers on a regular basis, because I'll need to know how I can reinforce what they're already learning at school. Um, Even during the summertime, toward the end of the year, I'm already like, okay, what do they need to work on during the summer? What are your recommendations? Because as good of a parent as I can be, majority of the time that my children spend when they're awake is at school. So I need to grasp and understand, hey, your teacher plays just as important role as I do. And I need to be able to partner with them to make sure I'm getting the best out of my child. Now I know just as many other parents, joining, PTA, PTO, that may not be truly realistic because we have all of these other things. But like you said, not ignoring these text messages, not ignoring these emails. If it's a conscious effort to just attend a math night, those things matter.
Mhm.
Because it's an opportunity for you to show your child that, hey, I'm buying into your education. I'm taking interest in what you're interested in, which is opening doors for you to have a better opportunity. So I completely agree with, like you said, at minimum, but also going the extra mile to be able to engage with the teachers on a regular basis, and pop up, show your, be present. We want to so often, and I can be guilty at times, complain about what's going on in the system, but if we're not doing nothing about it, if we're not voicing our opinions, then how can we be mad about it?
Mhm.
So I definitely agree with that. We have like shared and talked about a lot of just like awesome things during this talk time. And to kind of wrap up our talk time every episode, we ask that our talk guests share their testament for today. So that is that one thing, that one takeaway that you want our audience to be mindful of and to kind of hold on to and continue to talk about after this talk time. If you would please just share what that is with us today, that would be awesome.
So the takeaway that I want to give is, as parents, get involved, be present, and if you need any type of resources, reach out to the schools. If the schools don't have answers, they'll put you in place with someone in the district building that may have answers. Don't be embarrassed, please. I know a lot of people are prideful. We're no longer living in a day and time where we can be prideful. If we need help, we need help. Reach out, utilize those free resources, because we have to make sure we're taking care of our parents also in order for the scholars to be okay. And if we're taking care of our parents, taking care of our scholars will thrive.
That's good. That's good. That's awesome. For me, my takeaway would be, when it comes specifically to this day and time that we're living in, to no longer allow yourself, your family, as a parent, to put on the back burner your mental health. During our minority mental health symposium, one of our panelists just shared very candidly how for the longest, we did not have the luxury of being able to prioritize our mental health. That no longer is an option for us. And being in a place where we know that our students are on guard, that they're experiencing some of the same things, that they are learning from us, now is the time to step up and say, hey, I'm going to prioritize this. I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to address it. And I'm going to access the things that I need. And like our talk guest said, the resources are there. And I will be sure to drop in the comment section below the resources that I found, that I was amazed and was like, hey, this is something that I want to tie into my family support system. I will share that with you guys so that you'll have access to it. But like she said, if you're at a point that you need resources, that you need to tap in, that you need access, don't allow pride to get the best of you. Go forward. I mean, because it's only going to help you, your family system, and your child in the long run. So definitely tap into those resources, tap into the access of them, and don't minimize. So that kind of wraps up my questions for today. I truly appreciate you joining us and for you being a part. This is like the best way to kick off our first season. We do have some giveaways. And I will let our talk assistant Jaden chime in on that. We're actually going to be giving out announcing the winners on Tuesday, which is our talk time. But I found these really, really awesome journal pads for parents that give you the opportunity to write down your goals for the week, to be able to have reflections and things like that. So we're gonna we have two giveaways. One will go to an educator that is in the chat, and then the other will go to the first person that joined the live feed. So we will make sure that those are announced on Tuesday, and I will get with you midweek to hand them out or to deliver them. A couple of announcements. So as I mentioned, this season 3, our common theme is going to be linear. So this linear season, this transition season for us, is going to talk all about things that are going to get us to the point where we're able to tap in and to access our best selves. So we're going to be talking about accountability. We're talking about discipline. We're talking about productivity. We're talking about the highs and lows of emotions and just people, the makeup of people as a whole. You can also anticipate volume 3 and volume 4 of Tiff Talks Community Power magazine, as well as our Talk Tuesdays, and much, much more in regards to special events and outreach initiatives. Our next talk time is actually going to be on August the 29th, and we are going to be discussing accountability. That is going to be a great show. I already know. And you are going to love our talk guests just as well as our guests today. So I want you guys to remain connected with all of the information that is here, which is all of the ways that you can stay in the know and stay connected to Tiff Talks. Make sure that you like, share, continue the conversation. This small entity of your Sunday afternoon is only the start of what much more can be empowered and impactful to your daily life. So do not be selfish. Share, like, comment, and continue to keep talking and moving forward. Thank you once again, LaKenya. I appreciate you for being a part. And thank you guys for all tuning in this Sunday afternoon. I will see you soon. And remember to keep talking. Business leaders and surgeons and I see women who are going to win elections, science competitions, and